victims of industrial apartheid, second-class citizens, cheap labour and child minders. That is how women like these have been described by ardent fighters for what Barbara Castle has called this elementary piece of justice, equal pay for women. That's a fine emotive phrase, but what does it mean to you, to Mrs. Castle, to employers, to trade union leaders, to women workers themselves? By one definition, the granting of equal pay would mean nothing at all to these women and millions of others. The Confederation of British Industry, that is, employers, prefer the less costly kind of equal pay enforced now in the European common market countries, equal pay for the same work. Men don't do the job these women are doing. Lifting and packing cigarettes made by machines looked after by men has always been a woman's job. How then could you ensure a just reward in an equal pay framework for women doing jobs that men don't do? By choosing the other and costlier definition of equal pay, the International Labour Office definition favoured by the TUC, equal pay for work of equal value. And that, of course, would mean a huge, controversial and inevitably lengthy process of job evaluation. But it would seem to most people surely to be the only fair way to end sex discrimination in pay, which means that the average earnings of women in industry are about half the men's average, that of fully employed women half earn less than £10 and 2 million of them earn less than £6 a week. 2 out of 3 working women are married. As well as essential jobs in industry, they do a still more essential job, bearing and rearing the citizens of tomorrow's world. A man from the moon might conclude that as industrial workers as well, they should in justice get not equal pay, but more pay. Most of our voters are women. A third of our workers are women.
Really, if they wanted to, the women could dominate union policy, couldn't they?
We've been trying to do this for quite a long while.
But how have you failed if you're in a majority of membership?
Well, what I always think is it's a man's world and they expect us to live in it. But now they're beginning to realise that women really mean what they say. And it's this Victorian idea in industry that doesn't allow women to have equal pay.
Well, what is the official union attitude on equal job opportunities for women?
Well, when you go for a job, when women go for jobs, it shouldn't be that this is a job for women and this is a job for men. It should be, these are the jobs vacant.
Can you explain to me why women who've had the vote for 50 years and who form a third of the labour force and who in this factory form the majority of workers, why they've achieved so little in the way of equality of opportunity?
Because it's this Victorian idea, as I said before.
But you haven't got this Victorian. The most women have it.
Not now. We are trying. We have achieved something, since women got the vote. We have gone ahead quite a long way, really. But it's this attitude, while men dominate the wage structure in industries, will they ever give us the opportunity?
You're a shop steward, aren't you, Jack, in the other union, the General and Municipal Workers. What's that union's attitude to equal pay and equal opportunity for women?
Well, I would say that we're in the forefront of the demand for equal pay for work of equal value.
Now we're starting to split hairs. It's very difficult, isn't it? What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't think for a moment that the men here would tolerate a girl inspecting and taking cigarettes off a machine drawing the same money as the man that is responsible for the output of the machine.
Yeah, but supposing, what's your attitude to allowing women to do your job, that's to say looking after the cigarette making machine, running it?
Well, the question has never arisen in this city for the simple reason that there is always a great demand for female labour. And to the best of my knowledge, the question has never been raised by the ladies on the shop floor themselves.
Well, I'm told by one of the shop stewards in the other union that it has been raised, and they feel a bit steamed up about it.
Well, I can't speak for them, but no doubt it would be viewed sympathetically if it was brought forward to my union.
Would it?
Well, yes, of course, but we should have to safeguard the interests of the men at the same time, I believe.
How would you do that?
Well, if there was no redundancy involved, then I think that the man would be prepared to look at it.
What's the general feeling among men here? Would they agree with you?
I think that the majority of men would resist it in its early stages.
Why? For fear of their job?
Oh yes, definitely.
So you're a fully qualified cigarette machine operator?
Yes, that's right.
How long did it take you to train for that job?
Approximately 32 weeks on training. You have 2 weeks on plane and the rest on tipping.
Would you describe it as a very highly skilled job?
Yes and no. Part of it is skill and the rest is sort of labour.
Do you think it's so skilled that a woman hasn't got the capabilities to do it?
No, to be frank, no, I don't think so.
And how do you feel about women doing your job?
Well, it's an odd question, really. I wouldn't let a girl run a machine.
Why not?
Because it's taken the livelihood off a man. A man has got to go to work, he's got to support a family, whereas as a girl perhaps will leave if she wants a family, and I don't believe the management could afford to lose the money.
How much of this is male psychological dislike of equality, simply? Do you feel superior to a woman?
No, a woman is a human being. They're just the same, really. It's just that I think it is a man's world, as Kathy said.
And you're quite happy with it to be a man's world?
Yeah, to be quite honest.
By both definitions, equal pay would mean a substantial rise for this girl laboratory assistant. She does exactly the same job as the married man she works beside. Many people think it quite fair that she should get paid less because she hasn't his responsibilities. But the same people would balk at the suggestion that a bachelor should get less for the same work than a married man.
And you do exactly the same work, is that so?
Yes, we do equivalent work. We do, in fact, the same work.
But in fact, you earn less than Adrian, don't you?
Yes,
How much
considerably
less? Considerably? How
yes,
much?
I don't know exactly what Adrian earns, but I should say it's at least £170 a year more less than Adrian earns.
How do you feel about that, Adrian?
Well, John is much younger than I am. I also think that although she does the same work, there is also a risk that she may have to leave the industry, either to get married, start a family, and the firm isn't prepared to take that risk.
Well, let's take the 2 points. You say she's younger, but you're not suggesting that earnings should depend on age, surely?
Up to a certain point, yes, up to about the age of 25.
How old are you, Joan?
I'm 21 in a fortnight's time.
Would you agree with that?
No, I think earnings should depend entirely on the work you do. Your job, you should be paid for your job and the work you put into it.
What about the argument that men sometimes, not always by any means, but sometimes have greater responsibilities for the family?
Well, I don't see why they should be paid any more for the fact that they have a family. I'm sure women take their job as seriously, and I'm sure the firm shouldn't have to pay them for the fact that they want a family. The firm should pay them for the work that they do for the firm.
What do you say to that, Adrian? Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Any family?
Almost. If a woman can guarantee that she is going to stay at work until retiring age, and that she is going to do the same...
Oh, wait a minute. A man doesn't have to give that guarantee, does he? Why
No,
should a
he
woman
doesn't,
have to give it?
I mean the guarantee of her against getting married and leaving work, finishing work altogether. They can both leave work for the same argument, either to go and get another job, but only the woman has the privilege of leaving work to get married, finish work altogether. If she can guarantee that she doesn't leave to get married and start a family, then I think she should get equal pay.
But this wouldn't be practicable, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
If you were a woman, how would you feel about it?
can't say that.
Do you think perhaps you're a little afraid if women were given absolutely equal opportunities and equal pay?
I think fear lies behind it to some extent, yes.
How do you feel about the campaign that's now growing for equality?
I think it's right. I think that women should fight for equality. At the moment they're treated as cheap labour.
All the bench workers in this assembly department in a big electrical engineering firm are women, but their foreman and their manager are men. The highest position held by a woman, and she's been here for 20 years, is charge hand. These steady and dexterous workers pose several difficult and important aspects of the equal pay campaign. One is something which ultimately will be far more significant for women than equal pay, that is, equal opportunity and the equal education and training that will need. Another is the social consequences of equality, the effects on family life, on husband-wife, man-woman relationships, on, some would say, essential femininity. And another of great importance today, when industry is moving into a phase of high productivity based on round-the-clock use of expensive plant, is the effect of the Factories Acts that forbid night work for women.
The major number of our people, women employees, would be in factories, and a very large number of those would be on sewing machines. Now, to that extent, it's predominantly a female job.
In a highly competitive industry, what effect on costs would equal pay have?
Again, you'd have to relate this. If we could get women to do four-shift work, there'd be absolutely no reason why they shouldn't have equal pay. Absolutely none.
You wouldn't fear, would you not fear to start it?
Well, only to the extent that we couldn't adequately staff them, even if there were the permission to use women for, or have women do night shift work, so that there'd be no object in arranging something which is impracticable.
As an engineering employer, Sir William, how do you feel on the issue of equal pay for women?
Well, it's a very complicated and involved problem. I think logically it would be quite unfair to say that for an equal amount of work you shouldn't get an equal amount of pay. I don't think it's altogether good that so many girls do work when they should be bringing up families. And in our own factory, I mean in Mazarin-Plat, we have a lot of jolly good girls and we would hate to lose them. But sitting back, I would say it'd be much better for the nation as a whole if more of those girls spent more time at home with their families. And therefore, I'm not sure it's a good thing to encourage them to come away. We've got an extraordinary sort of muddled way of doing things, and the fact that we don't pay girls perhaps as much as they're worth may have good sociological consequences. I mean, personally, I think a woman should be very feminine, and I think a man should be red-blooded. And I don't believe in the matriarchal society and that sort of thing. And I would like to see the femininity of women preserved. Now, if they're going to be equal with men, I think this will have a deep effect. I think that, about 30 years ago, you and I remember when the women had eaten crops and they wore trousers and smoked pipes and so forth. I don't think it was a very good, healthy sign. And now you've got these girls in their mini-skirts and their long hair, and I think they look most attractive. I like to see it. And equally well, I don't like seeing the boys with their long hair looking like women. I like to preserve the gap, and I think it's healthy for a country to have this gap preserved.
Supposing it became the practice in your industry to pay equal pay, do you think it would mean many changes in jobs? Would you prefer a man to a woman?
I think this very much depends upon the job. There are without doubt a number of jobs where women can do it better than men.
What kind of job?
I'm thinking of any job where the work is finicky, where there is some patience required, where it's small work, particularly certain assembly jobs. Girls can do it much better than men.
So really, they ought to be paid more than men?
That's a line of thought, and I don't think that would go down with the men.